Welcome to the Yoga in Black podcast. My name is Tarani, and I am the creator and host of this show. Really, the purpose of this is to shine a bright light on Black yoga instructors to help create safe places for our community to practice because we deserve it just as much as anybody else. Each episode, I bring you a new yoga instructor or wellness professional to share their story so you get a chance to know who they are, find where they are offering their classes, and experience all of the magic that they bring within this practice, whether it's yoga, whether it's something else. As long as it's holistic, we're all about it. So keep watching, keep listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for being here. When I started my practice in yoga, one thing I didn't expect to gain was friends. And I've gained a lot of friends over the last almost decade that I've been practicing now. And it's been such a beautiful thing to be able to connect with so many amazing, very individual people, seeing their life experiences, seeing the differences, but also seeing where we are similar. So with today's guest, they're one of those people where a lot of the experiences are similar. I don't know how many times in our conversations we'll have a moment where it's like, are we the same person? Because me too. And it's just such a wild thing to see that for so long we never knew a thing about each other, but then get to Dallas and get into this practice, and suddenly here we are now almost 2 years later as friends, and being able to bounce ideas off of each other, encourage each other through tough times. It's been such a fulfilling and rewarding thing, and just something I never expected when I first started practicing yoga, because I really wanted my mind to be quiet. So without further ado, I would like for you all to meet my friend Melanie Leaks. She's up and coming. She's fantastic. You're gonna love her. I already do. So I hope you have fun with this episode as much as we did, because it was a giggle fest. Just so you know. Just so you know. See, I'm already starting. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Yoga in Black podcast. As always, it's Tarani, and this week I am joined by Melanie Leaks, someone I'm glad to say has become a friend of mine over the last, what has it been, a year now?
I think like a year and a half-ish, maybe two.
Something like that, yeah. But
hmm
hailing from Indianapolis, Indiana, now in Dallas with me, I am so excited for you guys to get to know her because she is just fabulous and amazing. And I'm not even going to talk anymore. Go on, tell us about your fabulousness.
Well, where do I start? No, I'm just kidding. Man, so I will say, let's just give a background of my life. So I have lived many, many places. It's funny, everyone asked if like I was like a military baby, but my dad, he was in the Air Force, dropped out when I was 2. I was born in Missouri, but on an Air Force base, know nothing about the state because we moved back to Ohio, families from there, lived there a little bit, moved to Indiana when I was in elementary, lots of moving and stuff like that. So I always got used to like just kind of not getting too attached to places. So like growing up, I was like, oh, I'm down to move wherever, like just like wherever my adventure takes me. Lived in Cali for a little bit, then came out to Texas. I guess I should give the backstory of like why I left Cali and came to Texas. So essentially, what happened was this is why I don't get into hot tubs anymore. I was working for this clothing brand in LA. We were going out to Palm Springs for an event, and I was vending whatever. But at nighttime, I'd party with them. Got into the hot tub. Hot tub water got into my mouth. Didn't think anything of it. About a month later, started having pain in the very back of my neck, where like your head and your neck connect. And I was working 3 jobs, wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating. Like I was like on the grind, like I'm trying to make it. I was in California and Long Beach, no roommate, so I literally was just I couldn't afford to sleep. So I thought, oh, it's because I'm not sleeping or eating. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, that's not fine. But I was like, it's fine. Then one day I was driving home from work and one of my jobs, and I was only about 15, 20 minutes from where my job is and where my home is at. And my boyfriend at the time, we were long distance, and he would be very much so like, let me know when you get home. Like, it wasn't like on any like, I need to know where you're at thing, but just like I'm in a whole nother state with no family or friends out there.
Right.
So I told him I was headed home, and then he hadn't heard from me in like an hour, and so he knew something was wrong. And long story short, his sister lived out in San Diego. Some reason I started driving down towards San Diego and had crashed my car like on the side of like into a little fence thing or whatever. She sent her husband at the time to come get me, and this is, I don't remember, honestly, all I remember is clocking out of work, texting my ex, and then I woke up in a hospital. And I don't remember anything in between. So all of the rest of the story I have is literally just accounts of the people who were, their perspective of what was going on. So, and I always try to make this story short, but it's kind of long. So,
That's okay.
he came to get me, and for some reason, I had like a paper, like a cop had written, like he took an account of the story and gave me the paper and then drove off. He didn't call an ambulance. He didn't do anything. Like, so I'm assuming at the time the cop encountered me, maybe I still was like, unfortunately, I'm one of those people where I could be sick, I could be like in distress, like all types of things, and I just look normal. Like, I'm very good
Yeah.
at that. Mask is strong. Okay. Learned it from a young childhood age. But so I'm assuming maybe that's what happened, but also it's a cop. So yeah. So I my ex had hit up his sister. His sister sent her husband to come get me. And for whatever reason, he told me that I got into his car and I couldn't make coherent sentences anymore. Like, he'd ask me a question and it was like a bunch of gibberish or like words that don't, like, I'd be like, the alphabet is yellow, like that type of shit. And for some reason, instead of taking me to the hospital in San Diego, he starts driving me back to Long Beach, which maybe was like 45 minutes or something. He said I started having seizures in his car. So he takes me to the worst hospital in Long Beach. I still have pictures of the way they fucked my arms up. Oh, I
Oh
hate them
my
so bad. I hate.
God.
So he took me because it's like he was trying to drop me off at home, but like I having seizures. I get to the hospital and he stayed with me, I think, for a little bit, and they contacted my family and all that or whatever. Once again, I don't remember. All I remember, I woke up at one point I remember being in the hospital. I was in a dark room with other beds around me. I'm like, why are the lights off? And that's all I remember. Apparently, I had seizures for 8 hours straight, and they did nothing. They left me in that room for 8 hours straight
What?
having seizures. Yes. And so by the time when my family came, like, the only reason was because my family came, like, where's my daughter? Like, what? And then they found out how I'd been treated. So, according to, like, that's all I remember of the hospital. And then I remember waking up later. Apparently, it was 2 weeks later that I woke up, and I was pulling the IV on my arm because I was like, bro, I got to get to work. Like, what the fuck? Because I was still like in that, like, I have
Yeah.
all these jobs. Like, I got it. I was not thinking, like, I thought it was, I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't realize what happened to me, I guess.
Right.
And essentially, I had been awake that 2 weeks that I don't remember. I had been well awake. I had to relearn how to pee. I had to learn how to eat. I had to learn how to walk. Like, I had to do all of that in that 2 weeks. I don't remember any of that. Like, none of that. I don't remember
Wow.
any. I just remember waking up and be like, I gotta go. And then I saw my grandma, my cousin, my mama, my bosses. They came down, and I'm like what? What's going on? Like, I was so confused. Um, so essentially, what happened was I had caught bacterial meningitis from the hot tub, and it went unnoticed for so long. It started eating away at the part of my brain that forms short-term memories. And unfortunately, that means that long-term memories are hard to form too, because like there's certain things to this day, like that's the hardest part about being a yoga teacher. Everyone's like, remember your students' names, and I'm like, can't even remember my keys. Like, fuck,
Look,
like I can't do that. Like,
at
it's
all.
hard. Like, literally, my brain can literally physically, like, the neurologist I went to essentially said, like, can't drink any more alcohol, which I didn't listen to, but like, cut down on sugar. Like, there are a lot of things I have to do to like help retain some of my brain cells. But it's
Yeah.
just like, essentially, it was like the hardest part after that was one, having to up and move. Like, my downstairs neighbor went and sold everything for me because I could only fly back with so much. My mom only had enough money to ship 3 boxes to my dad. Like I had to get rid of a lot of my shit. And so it was like I literally started from scratch again, and like not only just physically, not only just financially, because yeah, it definitely put me in a hole, but just like as a person, like the people who knew me before the accident, like me and my boyfriend of the time broke up because I was like, I don't even like you like that. Like, why are we even dating? Like, I was so very straightforward. And
Wow.
he was like, he kept on holding on hope that like the old me would come back. I'm like, that girl is gone. Like, I don't remember like I remember stuff from high school and I remember random parts of college. But if you ask me anything I studied in college, I don't remember anything. Anything. Like those times are like gone, like permanently. Neurologists like the memories may come back, but like it's physically not possible. Those parts of my brain cells are just dead.
Yeah.
So essentially it was like trying to like I moved in with my dad and stepmom and that's how I ended up in Texas. They lived out about an hour from College Station. So I lived out there with them for 2 months, and then I went and got a job because I was like, and then they were like, no, you can't be working. Like, and I chose to be a server, so like I had to memorize a whole menu, but I kept up my little book, and I've learned over the years different ways to help me remember things. Because
Yeah.
then of the day the world doesn't give a crap that you have a technically it's a disability. I haven't
Right.
fully accepted it that because I'm like I can get through it or whatever, but it's been 7 years. It's part of who I am.
Hmm.
And the sucky part is I present as like I'm able bodied and all that type of stuff, and I'm like, if only y'all knew how exhausting this is. Like there was a point like I would look at something like I could look at a pen and be like I can't give you what I don't know what word this is, like I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like I remember looking at my house key one time and I'm like, what do I do with this? Like what is this? Like it was like my brain was like relearning from scratch all over. And
Yeah.
then there was like brain fogs and all that type of stuff. So that long story to say who I am, who Melanie is somebody who before would plan out my life 5 years in advance. Now with the car accident, you get a year at a time is what I plan because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you plan the next 10, 15 years. It can literally be taken away, start from scratch. You got to start over. And, before it was depressing. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm starting from scratch. But just as of recent, like, it's okay. Like it's just a new opportunity to know where I'm at and know where I need to or want to go. And if I don't get
Yeah.
there, cool, somewhere else I'll go. So as far as my connection to yoga, I started in 2018 on like just doing YouTube yoga. I was very much one of those people who was like, oh, yoga's not for me. Like I thought it was like a white people thing. I was like, that's like for rich white people who have luxury and can afford to go to a yoga class at 12 p.m. in the middle of the day. Like I can't do
Right.
that. And then at that
Well
time,
off
I was looking on
housewives. Yeah.
exactly. And then looking on YouTube, it wasn't like there was a bunch of other black yogis for me to like. I didn't even think to type it in, like whatever. So I found the popular yoga with Adrienne, and I loved the way she taught. Like I felt welcome, I felt included, I felt like it was doable, like it felt accessible. And so I just would just practice, and I was also pretty active and working on that type of stuff. But I didn't really think about becoming a teacher until what was it 2021 where I like randomly because like one thing that like I looked into it and I was like, oh, I can't afford the teaching training. Like and I didn't know anything about scholarships at the time, but they're like, you know what? I'm a black woman. I know it's got somebody. There's a scholarship for something. So I Googled it
Yeah.
and that's when I like discovered that many studios do provide scholarships. I I applied to a local spot. Didn't even get like a rejection email, nothing, just nothing. And I was like, okay, cool. So I probably don't want to learn from y'all anyway.
Yeah.
And then like fast forward, I had mentioned that to somebody who I went through that school, and they're like, "Yeah, they're bad at emailing people back." I'm like, okay. So the universe guiding and protecting me. So I came across a yoga teaching or yoga school that focuses on somatic and therapeutic yoga. And it's funny how you end up finding like they gave me pretty hefty scholarship. I only had to pay like 300 out of pocket, and
Damn.
I know, right? I was blessed. I
Good
took
as
that.
hell.
I took that training so serious. I was like, I'm going to prove to y'all that I'm going to make a difference in my community because you believed in me. I was like, I got this. Like, I'm on this. Like,
It's like, for three
and
hundred
I,
dollars, you got all of this. Yes, come on. I
exactly,
am in this.
exactly. Like, I am dedicated because I have a commitment issue. Like, I start stuff and then just jump around. Like, my hair and yoga teaching training was the only thing I have committed to, like, through and through. So I'm like, I mean business. So it was funny because like when I was going through, like as a student, I didn't really know that there were one, 8 limbs of yoga, and two, the different avenues of yoga. I didn't understand any of that. So it was like an enlightening moment to like learn. Like I just
Hmm.
like there's still so much I can't wait to learn. Like I
Oh
wish I had
yeah.
the luxury of just being like a student who just goes on retreats and does workshops and all that, like just to learn. Like, but bills.
Yeah,
Um,
same. That'd be
so
so nice.
it would true like literally like that would be the dream. Like people want luxury cars and all these houses. I'm like, nah, I just want to go on yoga retreats and workshops. But yeah, so when we got into it, so essentially like I forget what year the somatic term started being used for yoga, but it's just I don't say it's like the opposite of vinyasa, but it's more so of like settling into a pose. It's essentially like a branch of restorative or yin, but it's like you're not moving based off of breath movement, which is real different from like especially in Dallas, like most classes, most of them are like very much vinyasa.
Hmm.
And, when I was immersed in my training, I wasn't really thinking about like my place in the yoga world outside of my training. I was just like, ooh, I'm learning all this stuff. Like, I can't wait to share it with people because it's like, um, because I essentially my end goal is to become a yoga therapist. Like once I have the
Nice.
time to go through that program, and I specifically want to help people with PTSD. And personally, I was in denial about it for a while, but my therapist now, she specializes with PTSD and she's helping me see that it is something that I fully live with. And I've always just brushed it off because I'm like, I know people who have PTSD due to living in violent upbringings. Like their childhood was like, they've seen this, and that. And I'm like, I grew up
Mm.
in the suburbs. Like, what PTSD do I have? But
Yeah.
it's complex, and it's like I've
Oh,
had
definitely.
traumatic, I had traumatic stuff happen to me like as a kid from like being at babysitter houses that like just the stories go on like stuff that like I
Hmm.
kept to myself. They scared me so bad I kept it to myself that when I did tell my
Yeah.
parents years later, they're like, "Whoa, what?" Like, so it's like as a kid you hold on to those traumatic experiences because you don't know how to
Exactly.
not. And so, and then like just in my teaching experience, like I've had some students who come up to me and like, been very open with their experience and they have PTSD, and my classes specifically have been helping them. So I know for a fact, like that's the path that I want to take. And that was like, I don't think if I wouldn't have gone to this specific school, I feel like I wouldn't have learned that or discovered that or anything. Like I wouldn't even have learned how to, because I started this before I was my job I have now gave me access to therapy, but
Hmm.
before like yoga was like the little bit that I needed to like just make it to the next damn day. Like it was like, okay, let me just I got this little pocket. And so I feel like I don't want to say my duty or my mission, but kind of does feel like it is to help somebody that is struggling find that little pocket just so they can get enough help or whatever help it is that they do need. Maybe yoga ends up being all the help that they need, but it's not going to be for me to decide or push. I want to open the door for them and little light push, like just put one foot in there, just one foot in the door. All right, now put the other. All right, I'm gonna close the door. I just want to be like that person. Like I just always like I've always had like it's funny. I used to want to be a teacher when I was a kid, and uh, then I grew up around kids, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't know. But I didn't realize you could be a teacher in so many other aspects. I was like, oh
We
yeah,
have
no,
that in
because you,
common.
yeah,
Yeah. We have that
because
completely in
I
common.
swore I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the best teacher, and then I'm like, oh y'all acting like this, and I can't do nothing about it.
Mm-mm.
Nah, I'm good. And then
And
teachers
see,
don't
for
get
me,
paid
it
enough.
wasn't necessarily the kids, it was the parents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. I forgot about
Like
them.
it was more the parents that I was like, I really don't want to deal with that portion of it. Like the
Yeah, that's
kids,
true.
they will definitely have their days, but they're kids, and
Right.
depending on their home situation, I can
Yep.
understand. But
Mm-hmm.
all it took was for me to work in a school for me to
Mm-hmm.
be like,
Like, nah.
nah, because like my mom worked in a school for
Mm-hmm.
a good portion of my childhood, and I didn't necessarily see all of the things behind the veil because
Mm-hmm.
at the time I was still a student. But
Right.
being or in college, I worked at a pre-K,
Mm.
and just seeing the things that happened there, and I was just like, I can't do this,
Nope.
because it was either become a teacher or be a social worker, and I'm like,
Mm. And neither of those pay.
I'm uh, I'm too let me bring everybody home so I can help you
Mm-hmm.
and save you.
Yep. Yep.
And I would never stop or
Yep.
ever take a break from work. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't go that route. I can't
Yep.
go that route. Plus, I don't like the systems that
Yep.
are involved. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I could affect change in them, but
But like, yeah, the
can,
system's
can
still
I
the
really?
system. Right, exactly.
Exactly. It's
Like
like, what's one little
literally,
black woman gonna do right now?
exactly.
Much, unfortunately, besides burn myself out trying my
Exactly.
damnedest. But
Mm-hmm.
I found a different way.
Yep.
Still
Mm-hmm.
teaching,
Mm-hmm.
still making change
Mm-hmm.
in my own way.
Yep.
That's a little, I feel like it's a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my God.
It was a
Attainable?
hard. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it's a little bit more attainable within this system than that one.
Yeah, that is true. That is
The
very
yoga
true.
world, especially because it's so much more recreational at this
Mm-hmm.
point, like it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit easier to get folks to sit and think about it and take some
Mm-hmm.
time for it. But for whatever
Agreed.
reason, when it comes to those larger systems in our society, folks just are like, but this is the way
Like,
it
nope.
is. Like, but it
Exactly.
can be
Exactly.
different.
It's like it doesn't have to be this way, y'all.
It can
That's
be
always a
so much
frustration.
better.
Literally, like
Dang.
we don't have to just take crumbs. We can have the whole loaf, y'all. Like,
Thank
uh,
you.
yes, I feel that. I
And
feel
if
that.
not the whole loaf, like at least they can actually teach you how to make the loaf instead
Something
of
instead
all
of
this
just
other stuff. Like,
exactly,
oh
exactly.
my God.
Mm-mm.
Because that was my problem. I hated the curriculum. Like, I want to teach
Mm-hmm.
practical things.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Exactly.
Maybe in another life, I will work on some type of homeschooling thing. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I'm
that's
so
that's
far
this.
removed from it
So
now.
that's, and I feel like I would say it's a lot of work because I think anything we do in life is going to be like we're always working towards something. But I feel like it's like a I don't know. I feel like when you get to a certain point in life, it's like, do I really want to just start this all up? And, like, so yeah.
Right.
Like, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Man. And then I
Mm.
have to sit back and be like, you thirsty. Go ahead and, and
Right.
squeeze
Just
that
squeeze that.
juice. Go on and squeeze it. You
Right.
thirsty
Just
motherfucker.
exactly. Even if you only get a little sip, just do it.
Exactly. Oh my
Big facts.
goodness. So after everything that you have experienced with
Hmm.
the I'm gonna say it wrong, bacterial meningitis
Hmm. Correct. Yep.
and the accident,
Hmm.
in what ways have you noticed yoga either helping you or at least affecting your life in that
Hmm.
regard, recovering from all of that?
I think what's helped is it's like, okay, how do I describe it? So, for example, sometimes I have moments where I just don't practice yoga, like just super disconnected, and then I'll come back to it, and my body like instinctively falls back into where I was at with my practice without me having to like. It's like a automatic. My body's like, oh yes, this is. I know I'm supposed to be. I know what I'm supposed to do, and it gives me um, a sense of like I'm able to just be and exist with yoga. And that helps me because sometimes the brain fog is frustrating. Sometimes I'm emotional as hell for no reason because like it's like I could be so much, further ahead if I didn't have this accident. So like when those emotions come up, I'm like, okay, it's time for yoga because yoga allows me to like I always thought it was so cliche when yoga teachers like, leave whatever doesn't serve you on the ground. Don't like leave it outside that door. And then I started embodying it and I was like, okay. So it helps me stop myself in my tracks, helps me ground myself, and it helps me have a clear mind so I know how, because obviously whatever emotions I'm feeling before practicing are going to still be there after, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not as overwhelming, they're not as intimidating, because I'm like, you know what, like if I gotta stop to do yoga again for a second time today, I can do that. So it's like it's a what's the word I'm looking for, it's something I can go to that I don't have to pay for, and something that helps my
Yeah.
well-being. And it's like it's once like I mentioned earlier, like maybe people need something just to get them to the next day. It's very much my like if I'm lost, confused, frustrated, sad, not like food's not helping, Athena's not helping, I'm like, okay, I got yoga. And it always helps. Like even if I'm half-assing it in my practice, because I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I gotta do it. Like, and not like have to do it, like I must do it, but just like for my well-being sake, like I need to do it for me. And even if it's just something where I just lay there in pigeon pose for a little bit, or just sit in child's pose, like just doing that and allowing myself to connect to my breath. I like to do the practice of, I heard it in a guided meditation once of, your thoughts, because my thoughts used to just go crazy. They still do, but I'm like able to just like breathe them away for a little bit so I can focus. And one thing they had mentioned was when you have a thought, let it come in one ear and pass out the other with your breath. And so, like, focusing on the actual breathing, the sound of breathing, the thought comes in and just breathing it away, like, that really helped me with, like, for example, when I get anxious, chest starts beating like crazy. Like, I'm holding my breath half the time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, okay, let me just get into child's pose. Cause then I like to focus on my breath and the way I feel my belly expand onto the inner side of my thighs. Like, I just focus on those little physical things I can
Yes.
feel, and then it helps bring me back to myself, because a lot of times when I'm spiraling it's because I don't feel connect. It's essentially the way I describe it to myself is like my inner child and me have parted, and I feel I'm like, okay, where is she at? I can't find her. Like, where like I lost my kid in the supermarket. So coming back to yoga, it's like, okay, let me breathe, let me wait for her to say, oh, here I am, Mel, so I can go snatch her ass up. No, I was kidding. Don't leave me again in a child. But
Gonna put a leash
but
on
it's
you real
like
quick.
exactly like shit. So I think that's how I learned to, because at first when I first started doing it, like after everything, um, it was just like unfortunate. I was one of those like, I'm gonna do this for exercise. Like that's what I thought it was, like. And then once I started doing with yoga Adrienne, and she doesn't, that's not how she approaches it. I was like, wait, this has like mental benefits. So I think just knowing that and knowing I can always come back to it is a way it helps me navigate. And even just like outside of the physical practice, the knowing, I don't, for some reason, yoga just really helped it click that like there's always going to be good and always going to be bad, which sounds crazy to say because we all know that instinctively, but like it helped me. Essentially, there's good, there's bad. In the middle, yoga helps me balance both things out, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
because it's like I used to be afraid, and I'm pretty sure it's a technically a trauma response of like being happy and of good things because I knew it was going to be taken away. Because there are people in my life, they saw me happy, they snatched that shit away. So I was like, I cannot have any, like, nothing must be good. Don't give me, I want bad and only bad. And then in yoga, it just was like, you can't have just all bad, Shawty. Like, you gotta have the good. I'm sorry. so
Yeah.
sorry you have to have the good, but it's like a matter of like, because even then I think the good still needs to be balanced, because I feel like for me personally, if too much good's going on at one time, like I get comfortable there. So then when the bad does happen, it's just
It's
downhill.
just
So
big nosedive. Yeah.
exactly. So it's like yoga helps you find that. It's about grounding. Like it just helps you find that stable spot. And when you're not stable, you know what you need to do to get back stable, and
Hmm.
so on and so forth. So it's been a journey, and in general, yoga is a journey. Like I learned that lesson too of like I was chasing postures of like, okay, I want to be able to do this, this, and that, and this, and that. And it's not. I just want to do it for what? Not because I want to do it. I want to do it just be like, oh, I'm advanced. I've been doing, because if I tell people I've been doing yoga since 2018 and I haven't tried a handstand or headstand. Won't try. I will eventually, but I'm not there yet. I don't have the desire. Like if I tell them that, they're looking like, oh, you don't really do yoga then, and I'm like, technically all of us do yoga, but like,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm just like, so I had to get out of the, and I almost started doing, those challenges on YouTube, on Instagram, like
Oh my God.
the pose challenge. Yeah. I
Did them all
tried,
the
I
time.
tried, I tried, I
Did them
tried one,
all the
and I
time.
did
And
3 days,
yeah.
couldn't do no more. And then most of them all got damn inversions, and I was like, okay, so you just don't want me to
Yeah.
do these challenges because I'm not about to try and then try and find modifications or substitutions. I'm like, this is all. I don't call it stupid because it's not stupid. It's fun to many people, but for me, it was stupid because I'm like trying to fit in and trying to be trendy, and it's going against what my body's telling me it needs. So it's like I can't do, like I need to. My body's been through a lot. Like I need to honor it. If it don't want to do something, it's not doing it. Like I'm not. That's another thing too. When I started my yoga teaching training, I was in the middle of burning out,
Mm.
and yoga helped me realize I was burnt out, and it helped me realize my path to recovery, which still technically I think I'm still recovering from it, because it was like, I mean, I'm sure I burnt out way before I realized it, because once again, when I was in Cali,
You
working
were doing
multiple
a lot.
jobs, literally, and still just kept going. Had the accident, still kept going 2 months after, like did not stop. Like just I gotta make it. I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm working towards, but I gotta go. That now I'm at the point where I just do, I don't say the bare minimum, but like, for example, when it comes to social outings, don't invite me to no loud restaurant, like nothing overstimulating. I want peace. I want
Yeah.
relaxation. Like I'm not I'm not doing like my full-time job I have now. I do what's expected of me. I used to go above and beyond. No, I do what's expected of me because that's what I get paid to do.
Yep.
And like that's that. And like I have people that are like, very big on hustle culture, that are like, resting is not like, it's not for everybody. I'm like, cool,
That
whatever, but it's
whole
for me.
what's the saying? This I'll sleep when I'm dead, and I'm like,
Yes. Like,
that's not rest. You dead.
no, exactly. And then as I get older, I'm just like, we're chasing things, and whole time life is about experiencing the people around you, experiencing nature. I love spending time in nature. It's about
Nature,
experiences. It
yes.
literally, like eating. Oh, child, yes.
Mm.
But anyway, I love me some food. I love trying new places. I'm like,
Yes.
like if people like I've known some people that have been big on like, don't reward yourself if you're not like, because technically I treat myself pretty much every day. Probably shouldn't, but I do, because I'm like, and I know my perspective is different because I had a car accident I probably should have died in. Like I really shouldn't be alive, but I am. And so it's like, I'm sorry that y'all, this is your perspective, and I accept that, but like I am going to take it a day at a time
Yeah.
and experience, like, and some days I can't even get out of bed, and I beat myself up about it because I'm like, oh God, I wasted a day sulking or crying or whatever. And I'm like, no, we're not doing this to ourselves, because tomorrow's another day. Like tomorrow you can go get you a matcha, and like that could be the one thing you do for yourself, but you got out the house, you treated yourself, you did what you needed to do. And those are the experiences I'm living for these days. Like, of course, like that's another thing too is as I'm getting older, I realize I don't have necessarily a career goal. Like for example, right now I'm working towards
Yeah.
saving up money to go through like the therapist training program and all that. But that's as far as I've thought about it. Like I know what group of people I want to help. I know how I want to help them. And I know how to get there. As far as where it goes after that, who knows? Like, and I'm okay with that. And it took a while to get there because if you would have, I did that whole 5 year uh, plan situation thing back in college, no, high school, and I
Mm.
thought after 4 years of college and 1 year in the real world, I was gonna be a famous fashion designer in Los Angeles. I'm like, now I admire my ambition, I truly do, but can you imagine a year after college? I'm nowhere near that. I'm like breaking down, thinking I'm like beating myself up, telling myself I'm not this, I'm not that. I need to just give up. I'm like, because growing up, I had to be an overachiever. Otherwise, like I remember, math is not my strong suit. I got an
Me
A minus in math,
neither.
and I was proud of my A minus. Okay, like
Man.
math, me and math just don't like people be like, what's two plus two? I'm like, let me double check with my calculator because
Like,
that's
let me, how many fingers?
right. One, two, but let me recount. One, two, oh, I think two. Can you verify? Like it like literally puts my brain in a blender. I got an A minus. Mind you, I had A's and everything else. I had an A minus. And my dad was pissed, like livid. And I was like, I'm proud of myself. Like, what are you talking about? I was
Y'all
8.
work
And
really hard for
so,
this.
exactly. So I was like, okay, A minuses are bad. So from that young age of 8, I've always been like, I got to do whatever I can to be overachieving. And yeah, those days are long gone. I'm not doing, because who am I doing it for? Like,
Yeah.
that was one thing I learned too in my teaching training, and my therapist brings it up too. Is like those should thoughts that come up are most times not our own thoughts. So like I should go to the gym, not because I want to, but because people are expecting me to, because I said I was
Mm-hmm.
going to. I should eat healthy because whatever reason, or for me in my case, I should give up sugar, but I'm addicted, so we're trying. But like all those should thoughts of like, especially more so of like I should go to this because I need to be more social. Or I should go, like me making myself go to clubs and bars. I'm like, I should do it because I'm young and that's what young people do. Those
Yeah.
thoughts are not mine. Like, I don't
There's
want to.
somebody
And
else's. Yep.
literally, I don't want to do that. I don't have that desire, but I'm doing it because in a social setting, if I'm like, for example, right now I'm like trying to get back to being more consistent with working out, but I'm not holding myself to any like rigid anything. Like I have a plan and it's like Mondays are leg days. Cool. If I don't wake up in time to go do it, because I can't do evening workouts, I just won't. I have to get it out the way.
It's so
If I,
hard.
it really is like, because I'm like, okay, I could do it after work. I'm already up. I'm like, nah, I'm tired. And
Nope,
I
I'm
just sit at
done.
a desk all day.
That's
Exactly.
a
And I'm
brain
like,
drain.
literally. So I'm like, if it's not done in the morning, that's fine. I have tomorrow to try again. And that's literally my thought process. Tomorrow rolls around, I push myself a little harder because I know I didn't try. Or maybe I did try, but it depends on the previous day. Like just doing that. And like, I know people are just like, you need to be more, you need to push harder and discipline yourself. And I'm like, I'll get there. I will, because I was consistently working out early as hell too. Before the pandemic, I was at the gym at 4 a.m. Like dressed
4
in the
a.m.
gym at 4 a.m. I don't know how I did it because the earliest I can do now is 5:30. But
Golly.
yeah, so I'm like, and I was consistent for like early morning workouts for about a year. Fell off because pandemic, and then started getting consistent again for another year and a half. So it's like I know I'll get there, and like, but if I was to hold on to what people think I should be doing, I feel like it'd be harder for me to get there because I'm like, okay, I should get up because something in my head, I don't know if it's a Gemini in me or what, but something about somebody tell me what I should do. I'm like, now I don't want to do it. Like you tell me I should get in the gym, now I'm not gonna do it,
I
even
can
though it's
look.
only hurting me.
The more that I get to know you, the more I'm like, we have lived a parallel life in so many
Honestly,
ways because the everything that you say, I'm like, me too. Me too. Real me too.
facts,
Like,
facts. Hmm.
try to tell me what to do. I will do the exact opposite. or nothing
Exactly.
at
Like
all.
literally. Exactly. I'm just staring at you. I'm just like, mm. And that's funny because even my parents learned that about me at a very young age. They ended up managing to find a way to make ideas feel like they were my own ideas that I came up with. I'd be willing to do them then. Because like I always tell people, like my parents never yelled at me. Like, I was grounded for being a smart ass. But like essentially if they needed something done, like I would respect them for the most part, like, chores and stuff, duh, I did those. But like especially as I got older, like ideas, like for example, when I didn't do too hot in college with this stupid math, nobody ever, every time I bring it up, people don't know what it is. It's called finite mathematics. Essentially it was like a weed out course. All freshmen had to take it. It's only one math class you had to take your whole time. Not many people pass, so if you don't pass, you can't go into the next grade or level, whatever they call it in
The
college.
fuck
But
is that?
raggedy. So I took it freshman year. Granted, I took my advisor. She needs to be fired, but she was like, "Oh, this one's going to be easier level because you can use your calculator." So I said, "Cool." No, they made the finite mathematics harder because you can use the calculator, and I didn't even know how to use the stupid scientific calculator for the. It just was because it was like probabilities and all types of letters and numbers mixed together and shapes sometimes. And I just was like, this is not, no. So I didn't pass that, had to drop that class and then tried again the second semester, freshman year. Got a D. That wasn't passing. So I ended up taking it in community college online, passed it with a C minus. What's funny about that, freshman year, my dad told me just go to Ivy Tech and take it there during the summer. I was like, no, no, I got this. I'm doing this. Like, it's fine. He didn't bring it up again because he knows me.
Yeah.
Summer rolls around, I enroll in, and my dad's like, "Oh, so you did end up going to community college?" I was like, "Yeah, I figured it was a good idea. Like, just makes more." He was like, "You came up with that idea, huh?" I said, "Yeah." Like, I fully told him I came.
He's
Both of
like, I
us knew I didn't come up
incepted
with
your
that.
ass.
Exactly.
Use
I'm
that
like, so I have
inception.
exactly. So I'm definitely like that where I'm just like, it got to be my idea because otherwise, because I don't want to be influenced like that. Like let me think it through. Like let
Right.
me make
Like, let
sure. Let
me
me,
give me some time to process this, understand a little
mm-hmm,
more, see if it's actually something that I'm all right with. Because if you're just
exactly.
suggesting it, like, you should do this, and I'm like, well, why the hell wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Exactly.
I was
Literally
like,
like,
I need a time to process it because my immediate
exactly.
reaction is nope.
Exactly. Like why do you want me to do it so bad? What you get out of this?
Right, right. It's like, how do you know that would
What
be a good idea?
agenda? Exactly. What
I
agenda
need
you
to
got
I
going
need to know
on?
more about it. I need to know
Exactly.
understand more facts about it. Like research
Exactly.
a little bit more, spend some time kind of processing my other options, and if it works out, then okay. But
Exactly.
don't expect me to just do what you say I should do because I'm like, what?
Exactly.
Why?
Exactly. It ain't
Why?
happening.
At
Exactly.
all. At
Oh,
all.
Athena has joined us again.
Hi, Athena.
I can't ever do yoga
That little
around her
face.
because she always gets on the
So
mat,
she
and
wants
I'm
to
just like,
lay on you or something.
always. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
she'll be asleep. She'll hear the mat come out, and she wakes up. I'm like, wow.
Oh,
But
new comfortable place.
yep. She's like, oh, mommy's doing yoga. Let me get in your way.
Yeah, I had to train my dog to not touch my mat for that very reason. Like, it started out he had his own, but then he peed
Mm-hmm.
on it. And I'm like,
Mm,
well, you've lost all mat privileges now.
exactly.
Like, it's
We're not
all
gonna keep
gone.
doing this.
Right. It's
Exactly.
like you peed on the Walmart mat. You not touching my Manduka.
At all. You got me fucked up. Because you ain't got Manduka money to
Yeah,
replace it, so
I
no
don't
peeing
have
on it.
Manduka money to
Right,
replace.
exactly. Exactly. So nope.
Like, we're not
No
doing that,
privileges.
sir. Nope. So I
Exactly.
trained him to he could stand at the corner and sit like right off of the mat, right by this
Mm-hmm.
corner or right along the side. I'm like, the second you set foot on that mat, I'm looking at him like,
Yep.
be like, oh,
Like yeah, I was watching
my
you. I was paying
bad.
attention.
I was like, my
Like
bad.
was
And I'm
I
like,
was paying
yeah,
attention.
you bad. You're bad. Yes.
Exactly. Correct.
Like,
Correct.
the only times he was ever allowed on my mat, quote unquote, was when he would lay on my chest while I was in
Mm-hmm.
Shavasana. I'm like, that's
Yep.
fine, but you have to stay here. If you're gonna do all
Exactly.
that moving around, jumping around, you gonna
You gotta
mess up
get
my meditation, and I can't do that.
exactly.
You
Exactly.
pulling me out of the moment here.
Exactly. I'm gonna need you to join me in this meditation.
He needed it.
Facts.
Because I always
Facts.
I like, who had the most anxiety, me or my emotional support animal? I don't
Right.
know.
I know. I think that too about Athena because like she doesn't like when I'm gone for too long. She always has. I always have to be in her view. Like,
Yes.
and it's like because for the longest I was like, oh yeah, she's my emotional support animal. I'm like, I'm her emotional support human
Hmm.
because yeah, she. I think it's because I can notice when she's anxious. She knows when I'm anxious. Her favorite
Yep.
thing to do is lay on my chest until my heartbeat goes back to normal.
Yep.
So, yep, she's. It's like she gets on my nerves because she's needy, but then I'm like, I guess I'm
But they're the
needy in her
best.
eyes too. Yeah, honestly, like
They're
because
the
I'd be like, oh, Athena needs to hug you and kiss you, and then she's looking at me like this.
best. She just has that natural get the fuck away from
Literally,
me.
like ugh. And then, but the thing is, every time she hears me talking to somebody, she need to be in the mix. So I'm like,
Yep.
you want me to show you off? Like that's it's
Hmm.
okay. Just living your truth, queen.
She's like, how dare you pay attention to anything other
Yeah,
than
anybody
me?
exactly. Like,
What?
don't you know I run this household?
They're the greatest. They are the
They
greatest.
are
But yeah, yoga with an animal in the house is always an adventure. Always an
honestly,
adventure. There
truly.
was there was one time it was my fault,
Hmm.
but I was cooking and I decided I want to kick into a handstand because why? I don't fucking know. But I didn't throw my mat out or anything. I was
Hmm.
just hands to the floor, kicking up against the wall. Here comes Felix. I accidentally kicked him because I did not hear him coming at all.
Right,
Usually he'll make noise because he had like a
right.
jingly collar, but the collar wasn't jingling. And next thing I know, I hear that high pitched yelp. I'm like, oh no.
Oh God, my baby.
I crumbled. I crumbled.
Little
And
like
that's where
shit.
I learned my lesson. Like,
Hmm.
only do the yoga things when you have the mat out. So
Yep,
he knows
he
not to
knows
bother you because otherwise
exactly.
he's like, oh, you're moving
Oh,
around. I'm going
playtime.
to come see you.
Exactly, exactly.
I'm
I say
sorry, baby
running into your
boy.
animal is like the word because it's like sometimes she'll run in front of my foot and I like run into her and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry. They don't know what sorry means. And so I'm just like, oh my God, they permanently think I'm trying to hurt you. Like, no, like
I
you were in my
know.
way.
It's like I hope you're understanding
Right.
me trying to make you feel better for the mistake that I just made. I did not want to do
Exactly.
that at all. This was an accident
Exactly.
completely. Now you're scared of
Exactly.
me. No.
Exactly. Like my poor baby. I'm so sorry. Like just
Yeah,
sorry. Cause
I
yeah,
don't want to cause you trauma.
exactly. Like the world probably, especially in Athena's case, allegedly she was a stray. So I'm like, she already got enough trauma. Me running into her, I don't need to be adding to the mix. Like,
That was
but
Felix
also
too.
sometimes I feel like she likes being tripped over. Like I really think she enjoys. Like I think she gets a little pleasure in that. Because I'm like, now I can't see you in the dark. Why are you running under my foot?
Yeah, she is what, like 90% black?
Yes, except for her
Yeah.
little paws and a little face and chest. Like I can't see that. I'm like I ain't got night vision like you. And I don't think like, especially I'm getting up to go to the bathroom. I don't think, oh, let me grab my phone and get my flashlight. No, I'm thinking you're asleep somewhere. But no, you're just sitting there in the dark.
Oh my god. Heard me rustling and now you're right here.
Exactly, because you think you need to be. She does feel like she needs to supervise everything I do.
Mhm.
So it's
Just to
her
make
world.
sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
Just to make sure
I just
you're doing everything right cuz
exactly, because if not,
you might be
she
fucking
gonna
up,
she gonna exactly she gonna write me up, and then next now my job's on the line.
I always felt like I was being judged. I'm like, dang, Felix, come on, cut me some slack. We're having
Hmm.
fun here, right?
Right,
Right?
exactly.
No,
Like just
side eye the
chill.
whole time. Side
Hmm.
eye the whole time.
Hmm.
Like, okay, okay, it's
Yeah.
whatever. But man,
Hmm.
I life with him during those years
Hmm.
was I needed him.
Oh
I
yeah.
needed him during that time.
Yep.
So I'm so grateful to have
Hmm.
had that support from
Hmm.
him on top of the yoga stuff and on top
Yep.
of therapy. Like I needed it
Hmm.
all.
Yep.
But when I think about how life has shifted in ways, I'm like, the yoga thing is the thing that's going to stay,
Yep.
and everything else kind of
Yep.
molds and
It just
shifts
ebbs and
as it does. Because like right
mm-hmm.
now, I'm navigating life without him. So
Yep.
it's like the yoga's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy came and went, and now
Yep.
therapy's back. But
Mm-hmm. But the yoga, yep, yoga is the constant.
oh man,
That's facts. That's facts. Like I
big
feel like
fact.
there's like a lot of comfort in knowing that yoga is always there, and it always will be, and it always has been, like for thousands of years. Like it's not going
Yes.
anywhere, like at all. Like, and it's the I think for me the magic unlocks when you realize like your practice is your practice.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to kind of realize that as a teacher as well, where it's like
Yep.
the way you teach is unique to you. Because like I struggle with imposter syndrome in every avenue that I'm in. But like it really hit different with teaching because I am like, for one, the style that I teach. So, and I mostly am restorative. People call it slow flow, whatever, gentle. Point is, you're not breaking a sweat in my classes because I don't know, like sweating during yoga. I will do it, but I'm not gonna make my students do it. Sorry, no. But I just you see my post on Instagram. I hate sweating in general. I'll be in the gym mad I'm sweating. I just don't like it. Like I don't know what it is. It's just like that cold, clammy feeling on my nose and forehead pisses me off. So I'm just right here
It's
at the chest, like
valid. That's valid as
oh,
hell.
like I just can't. So um, I like realizing that most of the people that I'm learning from and experiencing with don't have that same experience of like teaching those type of classes. It means that I don't say I have to reinvent myself as a teacher because I'm still pretty new to it, but it I'm used to looking at others and emulating what they're doing so I can fit in. And what I'm learning in this space for myself as a teacher and where I want to go and who I want to help, I'm realizing I need to something. So I teach with Mind Your Mat, and something Tori had said to me once that stuck with me was like, these students are coming to class to learn from you. You are the teacher. You are the leader. And I know those words are simple, but it shifted a perspective. I'm like, oh, I'm in charge. Like I'm an older sibling, so I'm like, I am the big sister of this. Like you're following
Yep.
me. I'm guiding you. Like I need to step into my power. I need to understand,
Ooh.
like, because I was afraid. I'm like, okay, what if I cue something and somebody can't do it and none of the modifications I provide are good enough? And like every teacher I've talked to has just been like, that's on the student. It's not on, you're just providing them with stuff to try, to take, to experiment, to play with. You're not saying do this or get out of my class. You're not doing any of that.
Right.
So when I
No.
realized that it's not as rigid as I put really high expectations on myself to just be perfect off rip. And it in turn made me shut down. It made me like my my first in-person class was supposed to be 45 minutes long. It was like 10 because I was like just going real fast and freaking out. And like I tried to like mix in poses, and it just was like because I was trying too hard to be what I thought people expected a yoga teacher to be. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to realize people may very much so come into a yoga class and have expectations for a teacher. But once they finish my class, they no longer will have expectations for any teacher that they experience because they'll learn that, like, I guess the matter is like I am a yoga teacher, but like I'm still a human. And when people see those two things together, they like your classes because they're like, this isn't a performance. This is like you're genuinely taking me through my practice. And
Right.
of course, it took me some time to arrive to that. I felt disconnected from teaching at first because I was like, okay, because in my training, yes, they had like how to cue vinyasa classes and stuff like that. But like as far as restorative goes, it's depends because the way I've always learned it or saw it is like because I know people lump restorative and yin together, but yin, you're holding the poses for longer. So I feel like restorative is definitely like the gateway to yin, because if you have trauma in your body, like physical from like injuries, stuff like that, you could potentially harm yourself holding something for too long if your body, like, because I think we still need to learn how, like, personally in our own bodies, like, am I pushing myself too far or am I just pushing myself to my edge? And especially beginners coming to class, and beginner in the sense of like never taking yoga, I don't ever want to be like, okay, get into this pose for 5 minutes, like get in a fish pose for 5 minutes. They may hurt their back. So it's
Right.
like I was trying to find like let me go back to the other thought. Restorative feels like it's like helping them find the parts of like my left side, it is a work in progress. Whole body's a work in progress. But I was getting frustrated. I'm like, man, I can't hold my balance. I can't. This hurts. This that. And I'm like, okay, let's take this as like a challenge to heal that side. Like, let's stop being like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. You stupid left side. Like, left side did nothing to you. Left side still holding you up. Like,
Right.
don't do your stuff like that.
And
You
it's
know.
still part of you.
Exactly. So like let's love on it, please. So I think it was like restorative helped me, as it says, it restores you, and it helped me learn it helped me personally learn what my edge is. Like when people say find your edge, I knew what they were talking about before I started doing restorative yoga. And then like, and I'm that was another thing as a teacher is like personally I usually do like the same flow like in my own personal practice and just like challenge myself to do something, try a new modification or a different prop or just stay longer in it. Like just challenging myself. And as a teacher, I'm thinking, oh God, I have to make a brand new class for every single thing. And with my memory situation, that's a fucking struggle. And the
Yeah.
expectation to like not look at your phone or not look at like was so stupid to me because I'm just like even when because I want to get into doing posting videos on YouTube, I'm still gonna have a reference sheet in front of me that you won't be able to see, and I don't care. But doing the same flows over and over, I feel like that's where the magic can start to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
so I I learned because at first I was like, oh, I have to teach a class. Now I need to make a whole new flow from scratch. And then the other teachers around me like, girl, no. Like you
No,
can
yeah.
either teach the same class or keep the base of it and switch out some poses if you want to, but there's no and I remember too when I was going to a studio, I would take I think 3 times a week and the same teacher was for 2 of them. She would do the same flow. And like she's like, yeah, I did this Sunday, they liked it, so we're redoing it. And then I come
Yeah.
back again on Wednesday and redo it and I enjoyed it. Like I never thought, oh my God, how dare you make us do this? No, because I
No,
knew what to
because
expect. So it was
that's
like
the beauty of it, though, because I think that
exactly.
was something we have spoken of on
Yep.
previously was
Mm-hmm.
that there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing the same thing because those honestly are some of the most popular quote unquote
Mm-hmm.
types of classes are the type that have a set sequence.
Yep.
You've got, I'm not going to say his name, but the
Right.
person that
Mm-hmm.
created the hot
Yep.
yoga 26
Mm-hmm.
postures. um there's that. There's Ashtanga.
Mm-hmm.
There's now Rocket Yoga, and
Mm-hmm.
any place that may even create their own type of set sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Those classes end up becoming much consistent or
Mm-hmm.
popular because people know what to expect.
Exactly.
And if they're still in that asana focus and tracking their progress through
Mm-hmm.
asanas or whatever, it's a way for them to be able to see, well, this is how I felt when I started the class. And
Yep.
now that I've been taking it for a while, this is
Mm-hmm.
how I feel now in all of these same postures, but I'm a different
Mm-hmm.
person now. And
Yep.
that there's nothing wrong with that. Plus, like, and you mentioned having your reference notes, whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
will not teach without my notebook.
Because I
I'm
feel like
not
you
gonna
need
do
it.
it.
No, I
I'll
feel like
freestyle off of
yeah.
some of the notes that I
Like
may have of some old
exactly.
sequences that I wrote, because
Mm-hmm.
I I also have memory issues. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not certain if it's just ADHD that's causing mine
Mm-hmm.
or something else,
Maybe.
but
Maybe. Because I
right.
heard that was a side effect. So I mean, it's
But it's a real thing. So it's like, even still, I'd be like, I have the greatest sequence. I'm writing it all down and it's great and this is flowing so great. I
Mm-hmm.
practice it myself and it's awesome.
Yep.
And I get up there to teach
It's
and I'm
like,
like,
huh?
what?
Like, what was next?
I have no idea what was
Literally.
supposed to come next. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
freestyle in or at least look back
Mm-hmm.
to the notes. And even still, if there
Mm-hmm.
was a sequence that I wrote like however long back,
Yep.
but I'm like, I like this portion of it, but then I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to change the rest. I at
Yep.
least have a foundation to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and a
Exactly.
reference guide, especially in those
Mm-hmm.
moments where the brain will reset
Yep.
and just be like,
Yep.
I need something to
Literally,
put in here. What's that?
it's literally, it's like your brain just pressed the reset button. You're like, oh, okay. Because I've had that happen too, where I literally have it written out. I've practiced it 4 times, taught it 4 times, all the stuff, and like I'm demoing and like whatever, and then I'm like, I can't remember, but we're already towards the end and we're supposed to transition. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we're gonna freestyle real quick. I'm gonna check my notes. I'm gonna get us back to that.
Yep.
And then or sometimes I'm just like, we're actually just gonna lay here a little bit longer so I
That
can
too.
regather myself. And because I think that's the thing too, is like, stepping up and be like, okay, yeah, I am the teacher. They are listening to you. I'm the quote unquote authority in this space right now. There comes that responsibility of like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm guiding you properly. Like,
Right.
I don't like there's it's like going to a class and they don't tell you it's going to be like a lot of hip openers or whatever, but then they don't warm you up and then you're going to do it and you're like, hold on, like, should I, like, I don't want to ever do
Yeah.
that to them, or have them confused, because I mean, there's been times I've been confused in class, usually towards the beginning when I didn't know how to specifically get into a posture. Um, but like, I also don't want to create that for anyone who may never like. Cause I don't want everyone to start a class like, how many of you've never done yoga? I don't want to call anyone out. I want to just approach it from like, okay, assuming somebody has never seen yoga, doesn't know what it is. Let me make sure I'm guiding them correctly.
Right.
And yeah, sometimes I'm like, and that's another thing I learned from other teachers too. It's okay to like have somebody in the pose a little bit longer while you get yourself together. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's and it's like, I'm a recovering perfectionist, so like I think this has been the most rewarding challenge, of being a teacher, is learning to break out of that. Because in a way, like, one thing that stuck with me is like, through my training, is um, being sure to not cause harm to self or others. And
Yes.
like, there's so many different examples in our book of like things that cause harm. And even by not showing up authentically myself, like, so like I said, I don't care for
Mm-hmm.
vinyasa, don't want to really teach vinyasa. If I show up to teach a vinyasa class, like, so I was trying to do teaching at apartment complexes. Most of the classes they have that they want me to sub for are vinyasa based. Like, a bunch of students are already there, they expect vinyasa. If I show up to teach a vinyasa class knowing I do not like teaching vinyasa, I'm harming my students. And I know it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like anything too big of a deal, but I am, because I'm not fully authentically in my practice with them. I'm not showing up as myself. Two, I'm not doing something I want to do. So I'm not as passionate about it, if that makes, like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel fully, like, sometimes I don't even like talking about yoga to people because I won't shut up. And so I'm just like, if I and I'm just like, I'm very passionate about it. So if I pull up in there and I'm just like, let's get this over with. Like, I'm harming my students, like,
Yeah,
and
because
I'm
you don't
harming
miss. You're
myself.
not. Your heart's not in it. Yeah.
It's not. And it's like, what's the point of being a yoga teacher if your heart's not in it? And so it's like, that was one thing that really, and even, just the harm factor sticks to me. And the 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 hard part of that is like, when it comes to not harming myself, like negative self-talk and like all those things. But just also like, just trying to make sure with the way I talk to other yoga teachers about like, when they ask for feedback and stuff like that. Yeah, I try, and I honestly don't provide it unless asked, because like, I don't want to create a complex like people did with me.
Yeah.
And I know I experienced that for a reason, just because it's like, there's going to be teachers that come after me that maybe vibe with me and connect with me, and I want to take what has happened to me and make sure it doesn't happen to them in my delivery to stuff. I want to be able,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, The fact that I was gonna give up yoga is crazy. I don't want to ever have another teacher go through that ever. Because
Ever.
you know how distraught I was, where I was like, bro, I finally
I
found
know.
something
We
that
had
I am
plenty of
yes,
conversations about that.
yes.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
distraught. I was like, what the fuck do I do next? Because this, like, if this was the one thing I loved, and I can't even fit in. And it's like, that's another lesson too. Yoga is not about fitting into anything. Humans
No.
naturally create these little pockets of things to connect with each other, and when we don't fit into someone's ideal of how something should be done or saw or experienced, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I don't belong. But no, it just means that your people is just not there. They're
Right.
somewhere else. And so I just like definitely I like I have a few friends actually who are going through yoga training now because they were inspired by my experience or whatever, and seeing how happy I am. And like when I'm actively teaching, like they just like, you're in your zone. Like we just like,
Yes.
we like it. And like they connected, they were already doing yoga in their own personal practice, but I love seeing that. Like I love seeing, because at first I definitely felt like, oh God, there's so many yoga teachers. I don't have a place here. Like, how dare I try? But after having my very own personal experience with yoga, I understand why everybody could technically be a yoga teacher, and everyone's experience would still be different with each teacher, because we
Oh
all,
yeah.
our perspective, our experiences, it helps us view a lot of the philosophies in a certain way that helps others. Like, it's, just like in school, I was a very visual learner. I had a few teachers who knew that, so they would teach the class the regular way, then they'd make sure they taught me in a way that made sense, and I would get it like real quick. Like, just I thought I was stupid because I wasn't understanding stuff. Then I had a teacher who actually saw my teaching, like my learning style, and that's something I try to pick up too when I'm teaching classes. Is like trying to be as clear as possible, but I think the hardest part for me was like trying to sound as professional and yoga teachery as possible. And then one day, exactly, then one day I was like, if I just describe how to, like, you gave me some good ass feedback once about like physically cueing the body of like, if I'm in tabletop, just describing the different parts of the body, like that helped me so much, because I was like, oh duh, like if I'm so worried about them being in there without hurting themselves or creating injury, well duh, teach them how to, like, what they should be, I don't want to say should, what they may feel while they're in the posture, and that takes a
Or at
lot of
least
the
calling
pressure off too.
attention to it so
Some
that
Yeah,
they're aware of
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. Because I mean, even in, like when I go to classes, sometimes like if I'm doing something, I don't know, I was trying to name a posture, but I can't remember. But anyway, if I'm doing something, I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. Like I'm just following the cue, and then they like be like, oh, shift, like, you know, pull your shoulders away from your ears. I'm like, ooh, and then I'm like, oh, like, like those type of. I
Right.
want to bring
Building
those experiences
awareness.
to
Yeah.
people. Because I feel like that helps them in their own personal practice outside the class. Like, say they do yoga at home, now they can think of, oh yeah, Mel said. So yeah, but I did all that rambling to say the point is, uh, the experiences I've had thus far have been like, I don't know if this is something I just always tell myself to in general life. Is like, I know that I'm experiencing them because someone's going to come after me and have a similar experience and not know what to do, where to go, how to feel, what to, And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like navigating this shit in real time is rough. Because one thing, I don't like giving up. So I was like, the fact that I'm this close to giving up, like I just, it didn't sit right with me. I was like, it's
Nope.
easier to just give up. But then I'm like, but I just got started. Like, just finished my teaching training, or I finished the program in October. Didn't pay for the Yoga Alliance official stuff because I was having issues with. I did it eventually. It was in December, I think, when I did it. But I was like, I went through the training. I am certified. Okay, I don't need the
That's all you
damn,
need. That's all you
literally.
need.
So I was like, paying y'all $100 something for something that I, in theory, paid 3,000 for. You only paid 300. I'm like, yeah, I'm, but so it took me a
Until
while
that money
to,
is actually going to them providing real standardization
right.
of a yoga teacher training that embodies all of the
Yep,
yoga, I'm
exactly.
not paying them money.
no. Because like, and that's something I thought about too. I was like, what's the point of the Yoga Alliance when I'm seeing people come out of different schools with like different, like they're not really teaching yoga to them.
Starkly different programs going on. Like
I'm like,
you
how?
took
Like,
if that's the we could go on and on about this because that's one of my yoga teacher training annoyances is that
mm-hmm.
you can take a YTT but you only took that YTT.
Yep.
Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no guaranteeing that you truly learned what you needed to learn
Exactly.
to effectively teach this stuff with safety in mind, with the culture
Yep.
in mind, with the principles
Mm-hmm.
in mind, all of
Mm-hmm.
that. Like
Mm-hmm. Because I think
it's
the culture
real
aspect is
frustrating.
widely. I feel like the culture is taken out a
Ignored.
lot of times. Yeah,
It's
because it's
ignored
like,
big time. And I've seen it
mm-hmm.
happen because
Mm-hmm.
um, I worked for a place where their teacher training talked about the stuff, but it was so much more focused on the asana and a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of the philosophy. And I'm like, there was not enough stress on reading the Bhagavad Gita at all
Right.
or the sutras. And none
They
of
said that
y'all
was
actually are
optional.
understanding the sutras enough to teach it either. So, what's happening
Right.
right now? Because
Right.
I still am, I will always consider myself a student of all of these
Mm-hmm.
things because
Same.
reading the
There's
sutras
so
is
much to
hard for
learn.
me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Reading the sutras is
Mm-hmm.
hard for me because it takes so much time to interpret what
Yep.
it
A lot of
means and
contemplation. Mm-hmm.
how it applies to you. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm
And
I'm
then you got to
struggling with
sit with
that.
it, and you have to sit with it,
Yes.
and whatever lesson that's supposed to come out of it, it's not like it's going to happen immediately. Like it may be something you have to contemplate
No.
on for some months. Like it's
Right.
it's like, at first I
And
was like, oh
that's
God, like, because it's like, I don't say it's not like you will have, if there, I guess there's no end goal. There really is no end goal. Like it's always wherever you're at in your life, you can contemplate on the sutra then, but in 10 years it may be different, like there's just, and now
exactly.
you're like, I thought I had this figured out. You don't.
Mm-mm. Nope. At all. But who knows? Maybe one day the world will right the
Hmm.
wrongs upside down, turn it over, whatever. I don't know the words, but I just realized we are
Yeah.
near the end of our time together,
Yep.
and I'm sad about it.
I
But I mean,
know.
of course, that's never gonna stop our
Right.
conversation. So at least for
Literally,
this
I'm talking
portion of it,
acid.
I'm sad, right? So before we go, I would
Hmm.
like for you to provide some advice, especially since you're still
Hmm.
working through so much as a new instructor. What
Yeah.
advice would you give to those that are starting a new yoga practice and those that are
Hmm.
wanting to move into teaching?
So, for my people out there who are wanting to move into yoga practice and are intimidated or whatever it may be, whatever the objection is, um, I encourage you to just start. And I like, you don't have to even go to a class. Just start with doing one pose, just one pose, fill it out. I definitely encourage going to stuff like, there's stuff in like the Dallas area, like free yoga, like you'll see on Eventbrite. There's like one group that does yoga in the park. Doing something like that and just popping in the back, because I was be in the back. Now I'm in the front, but just get into the back and understand you can leave a class. If you do not want to, if you were 10 minutes in and you're like, this isn't for me, can quietly get up and leave. You don't have to stick through. You do not. Like, that is my number one thing. Because many times I'm in a class, like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to, my body's telling me I don't want to be here. And then, or you could just choose to lay in Shavasana for the whole class. Like,
See, I was
you
gonna
have
say
those
that too.
options.
Like you have options, and if you don't feel comfortable leaving in the middle of the class, you can lay there.
Yes,
It's fine.
exactly.
Like
Exactly. So,
it's a space that's meant for you to be meditating. So go on and meditate.
exactly.
It's all right.
Exactly. The key is it's your practice. Remember, it is your practice. It's no one else's. Pretend nobody but you and that instructor in the room, and even then you can pretend they're not in the room. It's just a voice in your head. That's my advice. It's your practice. You are in control. You are able to do what you need to do for what your body needs. And maybe you do try, you're overwhelmed, intimidated. Give yourself that time to sit with that, but give it another go. Definitely recommend YouTube yoga. That's how it helped me. And for those that are interested in transitioning and becoming a teacher, one, cherish the YTT that you go through, if it's a decent program at least. Cherish that experience, cherish being a student. Take lots of notes, like a lot of one thing I have in my notepad is like the idea of freedom comes when we stop inflicting our own suffering. That's something I remember when I'm making myself anxious about something that doesn't matter. So just taking those notes, you can share them with your students as you grow. Understanding it's going to take time to find your voice. It really, you just got to rip the band-aid off and jump in, teach that first class just so you can get the nerves out the way. But the nerves for me came from feeling like the students are judging me. Whole time the students are in the class nervous that you about to have their bodies doing stuff that they don't know how to do. So remembering that you're coming into this space, you have to cultivate that space, but you're coming into it to share space and time with other people. And just know it's going to take you time to get there, but that's the beauty in it, because once you figure your voice out, you can figure your style out. You can share more with your students. The notes you took in your training, you're able to now implement them in your class. So unfortunately, it just takes time, but that's it.
Big time. Man, that was great advice. Thank you for
Thanks.
providing that insight, Mel.
Of course, thank you for
So
having
where,
me.
of course, I want to know where the people can find you. I mean, I know where to find you, but you have to tell people.
All right. So as of right now, I teach occasionally with Mind Your Mat in Dallas. It is a donation based studio. We have classes at Four Corners Brewery on Tuesdays. I typically teach at Old City Park, which is a very, very pretty rustic park in the Dallas area. And Like I said, I teach restorative. So, if you like using blocks, props, bolsters, we don't have the bolsters and stuff like we do have straps, we do have blocks. You can feel free to bring as much support as you need in my classes. And then I'm also transitioning. I haven't posted any videos yet, but I'm getting my YouTube channel started. My Instagram and my YouTube name are the same. It's Zone. I'm gonna just spell it. Zone is in yoga, but it's ZONENZEN yoga. And I plan on posting some yoga videos and doing some live streams on YouTube as well, just for an accessibility purpose. Free yoga, but yoga from home from those of you who do want to try it. And as I get more into doing PTSD work, it's more comfortable for most people to be in the privacy of their own home. So yeah, Zonins in Yoga on YouTube and Instagram. Mind Your Mat for in-person classes. And yeah.
Yay. Thank you so much for being here, Mel. I've
Thank
been
you.
waiting for the opportunity to do this with you. So
Yes.
I was, my eyes lit up as soon as I saw your name on there. I'm like, yes.
It's funny because when I put my name in, like the first round, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not ready. Like I was only doing virtual classes at the time. This time I signed up before. I was like, I'm gonna be ready by then. And then this morning I was like, oh my God, can't I even talk? I'm like, no, yes, you're still a yoga teacher. Like, what are you talking about? Like your experience is valid. So
Exactly.
I'm glad that I did it. I'm grateful that you even have the avenue. Like I feel like it's important. So I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm excited to see your growth through
Thank
all
you.
of this. And I haven't had the chance to really like be involved or experience someone's
Mm-hmm.
journey through teaching from
Mm-hmm.
beginning and into the rest of it. So
Mm-hmm.
seeing it through you, it's just like,
Yeah.
man, this shit's dope as
Mm-hmm.
hell.
Hey,
And
especially
I just
especially when
can't
I make
wait
it
to
to the
see.
say when I make it to the next level and stuff, especially because like I said, we knew I wanted to give up. So I'm excited to look back like, remember when you wanted to give up?
Yep. And I'm gonna be right there, like, hey,
Yeah,
remember that
exactly.
day he was talking about that bullshit?
Exactly.
Look
Exactly.
at you now. Look at you now.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, Melanie, thank you so much for
You're
everything
welcome.
that you do. And thank
Welcome.
you to everyone that's listening and watching. I can't thank y'all enough. And I say this every episode just about, but really none of this can be possible without all of you and your support. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for always being here. If I'm not mistaken, next episode is the season finale. So
Ooh,
I am excited for y'all to experience that. And if, again, I'll have all these other announcements and whatnot, so you can listen to those later. But thank you so much for being here. I'll catch you in the
thank
next
you.
one. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Yoga in Black podcast. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. It would be so dope if you could leave a comment or a rating on whichever platform you're listening or watching from today, just to let us know exactly how we're doing. You can also help support the show by providing donations via Spotify, and the link is also on our website. If you are a Black yoga teacher or holistic wellness professional and would like to be on the show, join our wait list. Sign up is available on our website in the Let's Talk section. Here's where you can find us on our social media: Instagram at yoga.inblack and Facebook Yoga in Black. Head to www.yogainblack.net for all your YIB needs. Next episode is our season finale, and you'll get to meet Victoria Mahe. New episodes air every Tuesday. And thanks again for all of your support, because this could not be done without you all. Have a good day.